Hi, how are you doing today, my friend? Welcome back to the Two Wheels Paradise. My name is Meshach Samson. As usual, and here we do motorcycle stuff, everything to do with motorcycles. Call it traveling, maintenance, the best brands of bikes to buy, yeah? How to maintain your own bike, how to know in depth what your bike is, how much it requires, who is supposed to service it, who designed this bike, who manufactured it, which country it comes from, the details about the machine that you trust your life with. Yeah? Have you subscribed to the channel so far? If you haven't done that, it takes only half a second to hit that subscribe button below the video. You see that? And also don't forget the notification bell icon, because you need to get notified that something good has just landed on your most favorite motorcycle YouTube channel. Let's get down to business. And what do we have here? Yeah, today we have a discussion about the best beginner bike. As I promised right from the beginning, I want to focus much on the smaller bikes where everybody starts. So many people have done reviews, recommendations, and so many stories about motorcycles, but most of them focus on the big bikes. I want to do something different. I want to focus on the small bikes. Yeah, small bikes, because I believe I started somewhere, and some of the information I have now, I just wish I had that information when I was starting. I could not have made so many mistakes that I made, some of them very expensive, if only I had that information. So today I want us to talk about the best beginner bike. The best in capital letters. We have seen and heard stories all over, from all over the world, about how everybody started riding motorcycles. For whatever reason you started riding, some of you guys started because of commercial issues. Maybe you were supposed to be doing deliveries, employed somewhere. Maybe you worked in a company that worked with motorcycles. Maybe you grew up in a family that had motorcycles. So many reasons. Maybe you started because you wanted something fun to do when you are not at work. Maybe you wanted something to help you commute, go to work. Maybe you could not afford a vehicle. Maybe you had a vehicle but you felt like you are getting stuck in traffic for longer than necessary. Maybe you needed a bike. Maybe you have friends who have bikes, they influenced you into motorcycles. Maybe a lot of stories. But what bike did you begin with when you decided, now this is my time to own a motorcycle? Beginner bikes, that discussion is a bit complex. But I want to break it down in a way you can understand. There are bikes you can begin with and remain a beginner for the rest of your life. There are motorcycles you can begin with and they are going to make you useless. Maybe you have a lot of money. You want to buy a bike that is fun, that is fashionable, that is very modern, a bike that will attract attention, because maybe what influenced you into motorcycling was fashion influence. Maybe you want a bike you can park somewhere and everybody is going to turn their heads, and yeah, that's a good bike. Yeah, it's a good bike. It's a GS, it's a BMW, yeah. That's a KTM. Congratulations, you have a very good bike. How much did you buy it? 1.6. Yeah, 1.6. Hey, yeah, congratulations. Maybe that is what you needed. But you have to consider your own safety when buying a motorcycle. Some people have been telling stories all over. I started on Gixxer, Suzuki GSX 750R. I started on Honda CBR 600. I started on BMW 800. I started. You look like you are fashionable, you are very modern, and you are also capable of handling big bikes. You started on 1200? Yes. That was good. But let me tell you something disturbing. If you started on those big bikes, the ones you now consider big bikes, I started on CBR 1000, I started on so and so 800cc, Trust me, you are still a beginner. Even if you have been riding for 10 years, you are still a beginner. And this is the reason why I'm calling you a beginner. Small bikes teach you a lot of things. A lot of things that you can never, ever in this life learn from a big bike. So many things, especially your own safety. Riding motorcycles is more mental than physical. And this is where many people don't get it. Riding motorcycles is more mental than physical. Yeah, it's more mental than physical. And this is why. You have to have a very sober mind for you to handle a bike. You have to have very, very positive attitude for you to handle a bike. Some of these things are taught by force, by small bikes. Something very important that big bikes will never teach you is something called patience. They'll never teach you patience. Forget it. They'll never teach you patience. Patience is learned when you are riding a motorcycle that is not powerful, that is not fast, that people do not regard as something useful. Yeah? On the highway, people are pushing you off. People don't even consider you to be different from the border borders. People don't even see anything to celebrate in that bike. That is the bike that teaches you patience. Patience and positive attitude is only taught by small bikes. Look at this. You started on Honda CBR 600. Basically, most family vehicles, the family vans, the Fielders, yeah, the Nissan ADs, Nissan Serenas, the Toyota Hilux pickups, most of these basic motor vehicles will not be able to overtake you or even catch up with you when you have a CBR 600 or Yamaha R6, Suzuki Gixxer 750, those things. So what happens is, you start learning a little bit faster than necessary. You start learning a little bit faster than necessary. When you start learning a little bit faster than necessary, you make yourself a target for so many troubles. You make yourself a target for so many troubles. You don't have patience. Anything going wrong, you speed up. At some point, you learn how to speed. You perfect the art of speeding. You perfect the art of speeding as the only way out when things don't go right. Something else that happens, you get the attitude of engaging in road rage. Engaging in road rage. I have a bike that can run 270 kilometers an hour. You cut me off, we run. You overtake me like somehow disrespectfully, we run. You get that attitude of, I am a bully. I am a bully. You'll never learn patience with a big bike as your first bike. Something else, small maneuvers. Small maneuvers. A big bike will never teach you small maneuvers. Have you ever been stuck in traffic somewhere and the only way out is to run off-road? Maybe there was an accident somewhere. A grid rock, a serious grid rock. There is no space even for motorcycles. Imagine now you have a 1200cc as your first bike. What do you do with it? You will end up getting stuck in that traffic with motor vehicles. You have no choice. You have absolutely no choice. Because right from the beginning, you never learned those escape maneuvers. You never learned those escape maneuvers. When you start on a big bike, you do not know how to handle a motorcycle that doesn't have power and remain safe. You don't know. You develop the attitude of, if anything is going wrong, I have to speed up. Because I have a lot of power, the only way out is to accelerate. But when you're handling a small bike, you learn other maneuvers to keep yourself safe. To keep yourself safe. My argument is very simple. If you start on a big bike, a very big bike, there is so much you'll end up not learning. You can continue learning for so many years without having any trouble. But at some point, you will realize there is so much you never learned. So much you never learned. I never ever encourage anybody with less than 2 years experience in motorcycling to handle anything above 400cc. Anything above 400cc is not your level if you have less than 2 years experience in riding motorcycles. I can tell you this for sure because I have been here for over 10 years. It's close to around 12 now, I believe so. Since the first day I sat on a motorcycle and set out to ride. It's around 12 years. I know how it feels to ride an 800cc. I know how it feels to ride a 1200cc. I know how it feels. I know how it feels. So for you with 6 months experience, you will require to have a lot of discipline for you to handle something big. And it is not actually the practical discipline that you learn, it is fear of dying on a motorcycle. That is what keeps you slow. So instead of you enjoying the bike, you're riding the bike afraid of dropping it because you know the consequences of dropping that bike. It limits you from what you can learn. Small bikes will drop you and leave you without any scratch. I have been there. They will drop you and you just pick it and just run home. It even trains you on how to learn away from trouble if you realize you are crashing. How do you drop your bike if you realize down is the only way? You cannot learn that with a big bike. Forget it. But with small bikes, you can learn how to roll on the ground and rise up without a scratch. They train you all that. Because their brakes are not so good, acceleration not so good, deceleration not so good, a lot of things are not so good. The bike doesn't have a lot of weight to remain stable. The bike doesn't have a lot of power to accelerate from one point to another, to shoot from 100 kilometers an hour to 110 and save you from getting into trouble. Maybe someone is tailgating you, you don't have a lot of power to run away from them. So small bikes teach you a lot of things, especially mentally, to make you a better biker. My class of starter bikes is 200cc to 250. If you can go to 300, go to 300 single cylinder. 300 single cylinder. Do not start anywhere on twin cylinder. That's not a beginner bike. Forget about what the internet tells you. Forget about what everybody else is telling you. The truth is very simple. You need a small bike that you can learn how to maneuver, you can drop and pick up, you can learn a lot of things. Let's talk about maintenance. You'll never learn how to maintain your own bike if you start with an inline 4. Forget it. Just don't even raise that discussion here. It's not necessary. You'll never learn how to maintain your own bike if you are riding an inline 4. Inline 4s don't give you a chance to run anything. Anything apart from speed. Anything apart from speed, unnecessary speed, that's the only thing inline 4s will teach you. But basic mechanical skills, forget it. You cannot dismantle that bike and put it down and then assemble it again as a beginner. But if you have a single cylinder, air-cooled, you can just learn a few things. Because actually, you get confident in learning how to maintain your own bike because these bikes are not expensive. Even if you break something in the process of trying to maintain your own bike. It is not going to cost you a lot in replacing whatever you break. That makes you confident. I'm going to learn. Even if something breaks, I will replace it. I will replace it. Look at this. You started with something like Cougar 150cc. Let's talk about Dayun Flasher 200. Let's talk about Charisma ZMAL 223. Let's talk about Kibo 150. There is so much you can learn from that bike. A lot more than a GS 800 will teach you. A lot more. Especially when it comes to safety. How to maneuver. Yeah? How to maneuver. How to be polite. And also, how to pick your bike if it drops. How to maintain your bike. What and what to check every morning here and there. You can access the plug. You can just get a plug spanner. You know how to twist it. You know how to just check. You know what to check. It's just one plug mounted on the side. Just that seconds you have your plug out. But look at something like KTM 390 Adventure. That is the bike you decided to start with. What can you do with that bike? You cannot even touch a bolt on that motorcycle because small mistake is going to be very, very expensive. Very, very expensive. So it limits you from learning how your bike operates. You'll be going to garages where you have Wi-Fi there, you have some Coca-Colas over there, some Monster Energy over there. Yeah? That's where you'll be going. Maybe to the dealership. When you take your bike to the dealership, it is taken away from you for a couple of hours. You don't even know what they did. That only means you are a rider, but you don't even know what you ride. But if you ride something 150cc, you'll be going to the roadside garages somewhere, maybe a better garage which is open where people meet and just have fun. You will be looking at what the mechanic is doing and you learn a lot about your motorcycle. You can actually even ask questions. You will be sent out to go buy this, go and use this as the sample, go tell them to give you this. You will even learn from which shops to buy things. From which shop to buy this, from which one to buy this. It makes you a better biker. Makes you a better biker. When you learn how to maintain your bike, when you learn where to buy things, when you learn everything. But let's talk about, you started on GSXR 750. What do you expect to run from there mechanically? Absolutely nothing. That only means if anything goes wrong somewhere in the ride, you can only call your mechanic or get a pickup to carry that bike to the garage. You cannot even fix something as small as disconnected socket. You can't, because you have no idea what socket means, what that socket is supposed to do. You don't even know how it is supposed to look like to tell this is not light. So you will be riding for 10 years. You started on BMW S1000, but you are still a beginner in so many aspects, which only makes it unsafe and also very expensive. Very expensive. If possible, go below 250cc. It will teach you a lot of things. Lastly, let us talk about technology. You started riding on KTM 390 Duke or 390 Adventure. That bike is going to help you do everything that you are supposed to do as a rider. If this is your first bike, trust me, so much about riding skills, especially on safety, you will be near zero. Why? Because if you steer long way, there is a sensor to help you correct it. If you brake so hard, there is a sensor to help you correct it. If your bike is about to skid because the surface is loose or something, there is some traction control to help you correct it. When you're riding in the rain, the bike senses it is cold, rain mode on. Things that you're supposed to learn as a biker to keep yourself safe, there is technology to help you do it. So for you, is you just grab the handlebars, throttle up, crash, just go. Anything else, let the technology do it. How much do you think you can learn with such a bike? As a beginner. It is good because it is going to keep you safe, but it is only making you a cabbage. It is only making you a cabbage. The day that technology will fail you will be a fatal mistake because you cannot do those things yourself. If you feel like you are skidding, you don't know how to handle the clutch, the throttle, how to handle the brake, you don't know. Why? Because traction control has been doing those things for you. So you're just there sitting on the bike riding it, but you are just a cabbage. You have nothing, absolutely nothing. So if the day you're riding out and the bike decides to switch off one of the sensors, you get into trouble because you know if I go off-road, I speed up like I'm on tarmac because there is technology to correct my mistakes. So let me speed up, it is fun. One day technology fails you, it is going to be fatal because you don't know how to handle those situations manually. You only rely on technology and nothing else. It only makes you a cabbage. Which is the best beginner bike? 250cc and below. If you go 300, go single cylinder. And if possible, avoid high-tech motorcycles. Those European bikes, avoid them as your first bike. Fast bike, I'm saying fast bike. Those high-tech bikes, those high-tech. That's my take. You can have a different opinion. This discussion is open. My name is Meshach Samson Maina. Let us do this again. Have you learned something? Talk to me in the comments. And remember, the subscribe button is all for you. God bless you and keep you safe. I love you. See you around. See you next time. Two Wheels Paradise, the home of motorcycle adventure stories.